Hello cardboard lovers, it's Cardboard Badger here. I hope you're doing well, and today we have a brand new deck tech for you. We are going Orzhov, Death and Taxes, Disruption, and Discard Shenanigans. It's been a world of fun so far, I have to say, and yeah, it has been very interesting regarding our Buy a Box promo, which is one of the cards that are in it. Finally get a chance to play with that card, and it can do some good things. So we'll get straight into this. We're starting off with the creatures. We have 23 in total, and our first creature in the 2-drop slot is a full playset of Cruel Celebrant. Cruel Celebrant for 1 white and 1 black mana, a vampire 1/2, and whenever Cruel Celebrant or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain a life. Next, we have a playset of Tattered Mummy. Tattered Mummy is a zombie jackal 1/2 for 1 and a black, and whenever Tattered Mummy dies, each opponent loses 2 life. So straight away, we've got a little bit of value with our Cruel Celebrant and our Mummy. If our Mummy dies and the Cruel Celebrant is out, our opponent's going to lose 3 life. And yeah, happy for these mummies to just go under the bus and slowly tick away at our opponent's life, hopefully quite early on in the game. Next, we have a playset of Lancet Reaver. Lancet Reaver, 1 and a black for a 1/2 zombie beast. When Lancet Reaver enters the battlefield, amass 1, which will give us an additional creature. We will have a 1/1 zombie army token, and hopefully if we can amass multiple times with some of the other cards in the deck, we possibly might be able to get to 6. Which will then enable us to gain some life with one of the enchantments that you will see later on in the deck. If not, it's just a 1/1, and that's fine because again we can throw it under the bus, have a blocker, and obviously gain and drain with our Celebrant. Next, we have 2 copies of Vindictive Vampire. 3 and a black, we have a 2/3 vampire. With whenever another creature you control dies, Vindictive Vampire deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. So again, we have some gaining and draining, which is always a good thing, and enables our opponent to start to worry as the clock will continue to tick. Next, we have a playset of Fell Specter. Fell Specter. This is fantastic. It's a 1/3 Flying Spectre for 3 and a black. When Fell Spectre enters the battlefield, target opponent discards a card, and whenever an opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life. So we should have multiple ways of having our opponent discard cards. If we're lucky enough to have a Fell Spectre or even 2, they can lose life very, very quickly indeed. So a full playset of Fell Spectre, fantastic in this deck. Next, we have a playset of Herald of the Dreadfort. We got Herald. He's a 3/2 zombie warrior, and when Herald of the Dreadfort dies, amass 2, which is fine because we get a 2/2 zombie army token, or possibly add that amass 2 to one that we already have, making our army even bigger. And obviously, with the zombie warrior dying, that will hopefully trigger some gaining of life and draining of life with some of the cards I have previously mentioned. And our final card, and I'm so pleased that I actually get a chance to put this in the deck. We have 1 copy of the Buy a Box promo. We have the Haunt of Hightower. 6 mana, 4 black. We have a legendary vampire creature. It has flying and it has lifelink. But it also has, when the Haunt of Hightower attacks, defending player discards a card. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on the Haunt of Hightower. We have multiple ways of having our opponent discard cards and also putting cards in their graveyard. So it can get huge. And we have lifelink with it as well. And it's a flyer. So really pleased how this one's turned out. So pleased that I get the chance to actually play this card. And it has worked. So yeah, 1 copy. It is 6 mana, but it is pretty fantastic. Also, if it happens to die, we have some enchantments that will hopefully be able to get us back. Some of the Planeswalkers that are coming up, and obviously also that fantastic legendary vampire creature. Next we have the instant sorceries and enchantments. We have a total of 13 altogether. Starting off with 1-drop, we have 2 copies of Ajani's Welcome. Ajani's Welcome, enchantment for 1 white mana. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Amazing 1-drop, get this out on turn 1, it's done its job, and if it can't be removed, it can be a huge problem. We're going to be gaining life, hopefully every turn, or multiple if we have our amass creatures coming out as well, and then obviously with them all dying, we will then gain life hopefully, and drain our opponent. So, amazing card. We will be playing 2 copies of Ajani's Welcome. Next, we have 2 copies of Aid the Fallen. Aid the Fallen for 1 and a black. We have a sorcery with choose 1 or both. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and return target Planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. This is fantastic. This is going to enable us to replay something that's already been destroyed, possibly a tattered mummy, so it can be killed off again and have our opponent lose 2 life, or get a Planeswalker that has previously been destroyed. And we may not have a second copy in our hand. So, really good card. We're going to be playing 2 of them, followed by 2 Dreadhort Invasion. Dreadhort Invasion, an enchantment for 1 and a black. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. Whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink until the end of turn. This is amazing. We do have a reasonable amount of amass, not a huge amount, but the fact that every single turn we could possibly have a creature enter the battlefield, and that will gain us some life with our Ajani's Welcome. That will negate the loss of life from the Dreadhort Invasion. We'll have another creature that can die, which will then hopefully enable us to gain and drain with some of our other things such as the Celebrant. So yeah, 2 copies of this to balance off the 2 copies of Ajani's Welcome, and yeah, fantastic card indeed. Next we have 2 copies of Arterial Flow. For 1 black, we have a sorcery with each opponent discards 2 cards, and if you control a vampire, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. We do have vampires in the deck, so when it works out really, really well, for 3 mana, this is a fantastic card, and also the fact that we're discarding is a good thing because that will enable us to possibly get counters on a Hightower and also do some other things with some of the other cards in the deck. So, 2 copies of Arterial Flow, followed by 1 copy of Sword Point Diplomacy, a sorcery for 2 and a black, with reveal the top 3 cards of your library. For each of those cards, put that card into your hand unless any opponent pays 3 life, then exile the rest. We get card draw, but if they don't want us to keep it, it's going to cost them 3 life a card. Fantastic. In this deck, it works a treat. I love playing this card. We've only got the 1, but when it happens, it's a wonderful thing. Next, we have 1 copy of Oath of Kaia. Really like this card. It's a legendary enchantment for 1, a plains, and a swamp. When Oath of Kaia enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. So we've got our gain and drain yet again, and also whenever an opponent attacks a Planeswalker you control with 1 or more creatures, Oath of Kaia deals 2 damage to that player, and you gain 2 life. So again, it's more gain and drain. This is amazing. Next, we have 2 copies of Raider's Wake, an enchantment for 3 and a black, with whenever an opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life. It also has Raid. At the beginning of your end step, if you attack with a creature this turn, target opponent discards a card. There are so many ways we can have our opponent discard cards, and if we've got one of these out, if we've got multiple, it is ridiculous. But if we've got one of these out and say a Fell Specter as well, they're going to lose 4 life. It's absolutely fantastic. Really, really chuffed with this card, and we are going to be playing 2 copies. And our final card is 1 copy of the Wakened Earth. I wasn't too sure about this, but this actually can completely ruin the game. It is a sorcery for 3 black. Each player discards all the cards in their hand and then creates that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. If they've got 5 cards in their hand and we play this and we happen to have the Failed Specter out or a Raider's Wake, they are going to lose 2 life for each card they discarded. Yeah, it is out of the blue. I don't believe it's a card that is particularly used hugely. I haven't used it in any of my decks, but I have to say I'm really pleased that this is in. Yeah, that's all I can say really. It can be a game changer. It's a sorcery, but the discard outlet can be ginormous, and it doesn't matter if they've got loads of 2/2 black zombie creature tokens out on the board, because they've just lost all their life, and we are victorious. So amazing card, just the one. It is 5 mana, but it's worth its weight in gold when it works. So that is it. Those are the 13 instant sorceries and enchantments. And coming up next, we are going to be having the Planeswalkers. We have 7 Planeswalkers in total, starting off with 2 Davriel Rogue Shadow Mage. Davriel is a 3 loyalty Planeswalker for 2 and a black, and at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, Davriel Rogue Shadow Mage deals 2 damage to them. And you can tick Davriel down by 1, and target player discards a card. This is fantastic because it fits in with Raider's Wake. It also can have our opponent lose life if we have a Failed Specter out as well. And it can also pump up a Hightower. So amazing card, and obviously all the Planeswalkers that we have in this deck, we have the opportunity of bringing back with our sorcery from earlier on, Aid the Fallen. Next we have 3 copies of Ashiok Dreamrender, 5 loyalty Planeswalker for 1 blue-black, with spells and abilities your opponent controls can't cause their controller to search their library. So we have some additional disruption, and if we do the -1, target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into the graveyard, then exile each opponent's graveyard. It's getting rid of threats, it is milling them out slightly, and the good thing is this is going to work really well. With our final Planeswalker, which is 2 copies of Kaia, Orzhov Usurper. I love this card. It's in my Afterlife deck, which is absolutely fantastic. But this time round, we are looking at the -5. Kaia, Orzhov Usurper deals damage to target player equal to the number of cards that player owns in exile, and you gain that much life. It can be a finisher quite quickly, out of the blue. And if we've got a couple of creatures, maybe some of our mass zombies, or anything at all that is hopefully blocking this, it is a good thing. We've got Oath of Kaia, which will enable us to hopefully gain some life and have our opponent lose some life every time they try and stop Kaia, Orzhov Usurper, from getting to that -5, which is a game ender. Very rewarding indeed. And yeah, we have 2 copies in the deck. For the lands, we have a playset of Isolated Chapel, 6 Plains, and 12 Swamp. And that's it. In fact, that is it for the entire deck set. My Orzhov Death and Taxes discard monstrosity. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a world of fun to put together. Thoroughly enjoyed playing it on Arena so far. Please let me know what you think. Is there anything that you would change? Let me know why. And other than that, I'd just like to say thank you very much indeed for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and we will see you again soon here on Cardboard Badger.